In the world of pro combat sports, the times they are a streamin. What a week for fight fans with a credit card and working Wi-Fi. Seems like both. On Thursday, just 3 days after the UFC and ESPN announced that all residential pay-per-views in the US will now have to be, sports streaming service DAZN made an announcement of its own. It seems by a lot. Previously, DAZN clocked in at $9.99 per month. And, if you're in it for the boxing events that DAZN offers, this probably seems like a pretty good deal. For $100, what about Bellator, though? Right now, that ought to be an interesting event, but is it $1.20 pay-per-view? Is it worth $? You can see what the thinking must be from DAZN's end. If you're paying so what do? You squeeze the fan. Trouble is, DAZN isn't the only one trying this strategy. The UFC's new "it's a lot" is the point. Not just financial. At this point, most of us have got subscriptions and passwords and usernames and recurring credit card charges coming out of our ears. Even trying to pin a saturation point must exist. As media companies, the threat is particularly acute for niche sports like professional fighting. The audience isn't. Fans have proven that they'll follow their favorite MMA product wherever it goes and even pay a premium for access to the best stuff, but that doesn't mean they'll do it forever, at any price, and for any version of the product. Still, the powers that be in this sport seem determined to find out just how much the market can bear. How much will pay. If they're going to miscalculate, they're going to do so in the service of greater profits. Because heaven forbid.
Raindrop, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.